Week 7 is in the books. Welcome to the FTFL Weekly Update. I am the host, Brett Sieber, and that's right, you're still looking at it, the King. Wins and losses have nothing to do with this. I think all of you have been misled in many ways, but we'll get more on that later. For now, again, welcome to the Week 7 edition of the FTFL Weekly Update. Going to set this down. We are now over halfway. 7 weeks in, 6 to go. If the playoffs started today, the number 6 spot will be going to an under 500 team. Mana, 3-time champ Mana at 3-4 would be in. Now, with 6 weeks to go, I guess that gives hope to the folks now who are a bunch of you at 2-5. Chasing down 3-4. Will the rest of the pack come back to you, or are we duking it out for the 6th spot? We'll have to wait and see. Finally, by the way, we have our first Adam Saltmarsh trade after the going out of business sale was made public. A little bit heavy as far as what he got in return. A slight downgrade from Michael Thomas to Devontae Adams only because Rodgers is out. A slight downgrade from Melvin Gordon, who's been up, who's been down, to C.J. Anderson because C.J. Anderson plays in a terrible offense. But then not one but 2 first-round picks. Holy moly. 3 weeks to the deadline. The trades are heating up. Offers are flying everywhere. And oh, by the way, welcome to the squad, Mr. Jordan Howard. Dilly dilly. Now, we talked about the 6 seed. 3 teams right now, as it stands, 7 weeks in, are at 5 wins apiece. Only really 2 wins away from the guaranteed playoff spot. Obviously, if you get to 7, that's really good news for you. This week, to kind of highlight who's getting there, who maybe is going to be the dark horse coming out of this, we're going to go pretender-contender. It is that time of year again as well, folks. And speaking of pretender and contender, one team who I still think is a contender, even though they gave up for about 38 seconds this week before revoking the white flag, Sid Hagen. Yep, he's lost 5 in a row. Coincidentally, all 5 have come on the heels of the mishandling of the Jimmy. Again, as it continues to grow, as it begins to become a problem, now you add to the fact that the white flag went up, the white flag went down, and the Jimmy still is causing problems. But again, I'm not entirely sure he's full-on contender. More on that later. Let's get to the game. First off, game number 1, Ryan Deesum. And that T&B that he's been hauling around all of his life. Take at 5-1, taking on the Pack Attack at 4-2. And boy, oh boy, did the titties and balls just assert their dominance. 105.5 to 68. The Pack Attack got blown out. Dak Prescott, once again, leads the way. 32 points. You're welcome. Mark Ingram continues to flourish now that Adrian Peterson is gone. He adds 14. Evan Engram, not Ingram, but Engram, adds 13. Travis Kelce, wait, that's 2 tight ends. That's right. For the first time in several years, Deesum got up, did a little exercising, and flexed his tight end. Jordy Nelson, half a point. The only person under 5 points on the squad this week. When your team scores 105.5, you know everyone's contributing. But Jordy Nelson, what an interesting situation. Now it's the bye week. Coming out of the bye week, will things improve, or is this a harbinger of things to come? I hope not. Not because I'm pulling for you, Deesum, but because, honest to God, look at the symbol. I'm a Packers fan through and through. Now, Dak Prescott, yes, led your team, 32 points. And he's going to have to continue to be the one leading your team because another quarterback is now Carson Palmer broke his arm. Andrew Luck still hasn't seen the field and might not this entire season. Will you keep him again? All right, enough on Deesum's team. If you're the Pack Attack, not a lot to talk about. I guess a few nice things. Drew Brees, a pedestrian, 18. Doug Baldwin, welcome back, 16.5. Jarvis Landry for the second week looks alive with 15.5. Ty Montgomery, half a point. Aaron Jones seems to be the guy going forward. Does that spell the end of Ty Montgomery? And Eric, so much of his early season run was directly attached to Ty Montgomery. Now it appears that he is the one holding it back. Larry Fitzgerald, 1.5 points. Then again, Carson Palmer's out. 1.5 might be the new normal for Larry Fitzgerald. Deesum goes to 6-1. Pack Attack fall to 4-3. Next, your king, the king of the FTFL, the Hulkamaniacs at 5-1, taking on those lowlifes from the people of Middle Spunk Creek. I say that with only affinity in my heart and really meaning no disrespect. Sure, I lost 109.5 to 81. I think everyone assumes that you're the king if only you win and you continue to have the best record in the FTFL. I think people just assume that I just decided to one day all of a sudden start calling myself the king. That's not how this works. You're not the king just because you say you're the king. And as an aside, I'm not the kind of king who's a tyrant ruler. I'm not looking to squash people, smush people, extinguish hopes and dreams. No. I looked out upon the kingdom. I saw that I had a 2-game cushion. And so I thought, you know what? What better way, what better moment than now to give back? I gave back this week. Now, I still scored above 80 points as my string continues. One of the only teams, if not the only team in the league, to keep it above the 80 mark all season long. Carson Wentz, 36 points in the loss. Chris Thompson, 12.5. Mike Evans, 13.5. Not a lot. Beyond that, I had 5 players under 5 points. Derrick Henry, 1 point. Although Derrick Henry, the experiment I think is over. You're on your way out. Jordan Howard's coming in. Dan Bailey, I picked up a kicker this week because my kicker was a little banged up. I'm like, I don't want to take the chance, so I'll pick up a kicker. So I picked up Dan Bailey, who promptly got hurt. Dollar well spent, dilly. If you are the people of Middle Spunk Creek, Derek Carr jumped straight out his boots on Thursday Night Football. Coming into this week, averaging 13.2 points. Tagged me for 34 points. Kareem Hunt, though, the darling of the ball. Of the draft, the belle of the ball, however that's supposed to be said. The first 3 weeks of the season, a 4th straight week with 10 or fewer points, only logged 8. 3 wide receivers combined for 35.5 points. Legatron kicked in 17. Still, however, with this victory over the King, a game out. Still a game behind with 6 to go. Should be interesting if things stay the way they are up until week 10. We will see you again. Next up, the Architect, the sneaky, by the way, I consider favorite at this point at 4-2, taking on Kramerica at 2-4, the reeling Kramerica. And for the 3rd time this year, Kramerica scores more than 88.5 points and loses. Kramerica's problem is not his team scoring points. He's putting up tons of points. But 90.5 was not enough this week because the Architect put up a smooth 113. Ezekiel Elliott, the chump that he is, tacked 36.5 on the board. And let's be honest, he wasn't supposed to play this week. It got prolonged because why? Because the judge was on vacation. That's why Ezekiel Elliott played. 36.5 led the way. Brandon Cooks throws in 12. Zach Ertz, 12.5. A 0 from Vinatieri and still notches 113 points. Jared Goff, which might have been his first ever start in FTFL history, put 16 on the board. He had 51 points from his 3 running backs. Again, now, wasn't necessarily the firestorm that we've been used to, but then again, 51 points from your 3 running backs. I said it earlier and I'll say it again. That's going to be the big news going forward for the Architect, and one of the real reasons I feel he might just be the team in the end to beat. Kramerica, another almost 90-point loss. Tyreek Hill, 21, Brady 16. The Jacksonville Juggernaut defense throws on 20. Tevin Coleman, 0. Could have used some help on that. Instead, he gets his 5th loss in a row. And of course, throughout the 2, gave up for about 38 seconds, saw Markser lose by a half point. We're going to get to that game in a little bit. And then promptly put the white flag away and got back on the horse. I don't know. The mishandling of the Jimmy, the handing away 2 first-round draft picks to Saltman. I'm not necessarily handing, but definitely I think giving up more than was necessary. Quitting, not quitting, all of this just reeks of decent essence. And your case you continue to build week by week. You better turn it around soon, or maybe, just maybe, it won't be Smart's name with the Sharpie I'm writing. Instead, it might be yours. All right, it's time to take a break. We're going to go back to a segment we started earlier this year, and I have it here in this plastic bag ever since the man in charge of our country, and I use that term loosely, in charge, touched it. I've had it in quarantine. Hopefully by now the germs are gone. Out comes the Magic 8 Ball, and here we go with the questions. Question number 1, Magic 8 Ball. Is the trade market inflated? And we've seen really out the gates, the Kareem Hunt trade kind of really up the ante on what people should be expecting for their players. Is currently in the FTFL the trade market inflated? Here we go. And it says to me, wait for it to roll around here. Hopefully Trump didn't break this. My reply is no. Really? Really? So it's... All right, I guess it is what it is. I don't like it. I think my trade was a little bit more in line with what we can expect. But I guess, hey, if you want to throw away draft picks, throw away draft picks. Question number 2, Magic 8 Ball. I know this is on everyone's heart and mind. Will Aaron Rodgers come back to play this season? Magic 8 Ball, what do you got for me? And it says, it is certain. To that, the king says, dilly dilly. That is good news. All right, lastly, and most importantly, Magic 8 Ball, am I still the king of the FTFL? This is more so for all of you. I know in my heart that I'm the king, but I need all of you to have the Magic 8 Ball tell you. And the Magic 8 Ball says, let's see here, it's kind of floating around. Outlook good. That means yes, boys and girls, dilly to the dilly. All right, so thank you, Magic 8 Ball. And now that the germs are gone, I guess we can ditch the bag. Onwards to the last 2 games of the week. Next up, Team Linkowitz at 2-4, taking on the Pit of Misery, Dilly Dilly. At 1-5, and boy, oh boy, did someone finally show up in what is his best game to date. And surviving a 4-point performance from Marcus Mariota didn't matter. 109 points, the Pit of Misery, Dilly Dilly. Almost spilled on myself. That would have been a royal mess. 109 points for the Pit of Misery. Linkowitz is 77. Again, Mariota only tacked on 4, but when Amari Cooper blows it up for 39.5, it doesn't matter. Throw in Julio Jones, 16.5. And guess who was the 3rd highest scorer on Andy's team? Not Le'Veon Bell. Not Jordan Howard. Who has been the consistent number 2 or number 3 scorer throughout the entire season for Andy? Justin Tucker. What a story. 14 points. Best game of the year. He, at this point now, moves to 2-5 with only 1 game out of the final playoff spot. If you're Linkowitz, you are heading in the wrong direction. This is your 3rd loss in a row. Sure, Kirk Cousins put 24 on the board, and Todd Gurley continues to be a force. But beyond that, we're not looking at much. 12 from Gostkowski. 0 for Marshawn Lynch. The Marshawn Lynch experiment, I do believe, is over in Oakland. He hasn't done much for them. He hasn't done much for John. Everyone else on John's team, 6.5 points below. That is why he scored 77. That is why he loses, and that is why he is now 2-5. Last but not least, the Pizza Bowl. Adam Saltmarsh and his Radioactive Monkeys at 1-5, taking on Jeff Marksher and his Mana 3-time champ, Mana. And this one was decided by a 0.5 point. To help us understand what a 0.5 point looks like, we now go straight to our Browerville I can't even talk. I'm so excited because he's back this week. Our Browerville correspondent, Bart, take it away.
Oh, hold up, you're right there. I'm coming. All right. Oh, wait. Oh my goodness. Oh, look. Hey, it's your old friend Bart from Browerville. Sorry, I was just taking care of the sump pump. So yeah, I apologize. I'm not very camera friendly, and I had a cow kick a turd in my eye, and the doctor said it's gonna be all right, but it'll take a few days to heal. Now I heard you were having some problem counting. You were dealing with like 0.5 points and stuff. Well, guess what? In Browerville, we count halves by using this finger right here. All right, hope that was helpful. See you next time. Goodbye.
Love that guy. God, he makes it so simple to understand. Now, a 0.5 point. And it came down to Monday night, and it came down to a kicker. I know that's every single fantasy football owner's dream and worst nightmare wrapped up in one. This was the lowest combined score game of the year, 59 to 58.5. If your marks are the loss stings, it moves you down to 3-4. However, I did say that you are now, at least for now, in the driver's seat. Saltmarsh moves up to 2-5, but he did just ditch a couple more of his best players. I do believe he is waving the white flag, whereas Sid Hagen was unwilling to do so just quite yet. LaShawn McCoy for Marks for 22.5. Ryan Suckup 15. 5 players were 2.5 points or fewer. Fournette was out. That was probably the difference. He has been huge for Jeff Markshaw all season. He didn't play. Jeff didn't win. If you're Saltmarsh, Matt Ryan, 12 points. Jake Elliott got 13. The Pittsburgh defense got 13. That's right. The kicker and the defense led the way. 5 players under 3.5. I really think, though, kind of the last gasp. Maybe he sold too soon. Then again, really not a lot to build any sort of credible amount to going forward. So he goes to 2-5. Jeff falls to 3-4. Out of all of these, I look at these teams: pretenders, contenders. Sure, Ryan Deesum, contender. The Architect, contender. The King, Dilly, contender. Pack Attack, I got him as definitely on the fence. People in Middle Spunk Creek score a lot of points. You are a contender. I would even at this point put my 6th contender, Cramerica. You're 1 game out of a playoff spot. You've scored a poop ton of points. The tide might turn for you. I think that you're in. Pack Attack, Mana, I think either of you could be a contender or pretender. It all depends on the week. But if we're talking straight up pretenders, Linkowitz, Saltmarsh, and of course, the Pit of Misery, Dilly. All right, we're going to send this home. Stud of the week. This one was an all-out easy choice. It was Elliott. Not that chump from Dallas, Ezekiel Elliott, who can take your stupid animated made-up spoon, shine it up real nice, turn it sideways, and then you know what the rest is. No, not that chump. Jake Elliott. Jake Elliott, 13 points. Your team wins by a half a point. You kicked them to victory on Monday night. You, sir, are the stud of the week, dud of the week. I had a couple. Marshawn Lynch had 0 points. Now, John Cena really isn't going anywhere, so maybe that doesn't matter. I kind of look at this game where Markster lost by a half point. Instead of going above 500, he's now below 500. It takes 2 games at this point to get back above. T.Y. Hilton, Terrell Pryor, Demaryius Thomas combined for 3 points. If you take their averages going into this game, they combined for 20.5 points. So what you're hearing is that they would have, on average, scored 20 more points than was necessary. Nonetheless, his team loses, so that trio is the dud of the week. The Deesum update, Sid, the Jimmy effect at 5 weeks and still going strong. The wrong Jimmy has cost you win after win after win after win. The white flag up, the white flag down. I mean, you are floundering and really showing us everything we need to see as far as the inability to run a competent fantasy football team, which is part of the very definition of the Deesum Award. I think maybe you gave up too much in the trade, although the Magic 8 Ball did say the market's not inflated. So I guess maybe you're safe on that one. But 2 out of 3 is pointing in the wrong direction. Lastly, Week 8. Well, actually not lastly. I have one last thing I want to mention. But Week 8's games, couple rematches. Ryan Deesum and his big old moldy, gross, saggy titties and balls at 6-1, taking on once again the Pack Attack at 4-3. The Architect in a rematch against Cramerica, 5-2, going up against 2-5. The Hulkamaniacs, king of the FTFL, at 5-2, taking on the Radioactive Monkeys at 2-5. Mana, 3-time champ, Mana looking to get back on the right side of the things at 3-4, taking on Team Linkowitz, who was 2-5. And lastly, but not leastly, the people of Middle Spunk Creek at 4-3, taking on the 2-5 Pit of Misery, Dilly. Now, before I go, today, October 25th, 2017, 30 years ago tonight, the Minnesota Twins, who I have sworn off after their recent loss to the New York Yankees in the playoffs, won their first ever World Series championship. And to that, I say, dilly. And with that, we should probably finish this off. With that, I say goodbye. I sign off. Until next time, my FTFLers, this is Brett. Peace out.